We've got the town plan and zoning meeting for October 25th. I'm Shannon Rutherford, the town planner. And we're going to start with a roll call. Barbara Brenneman is absent. Patrick Carrier.
Here.
Mike Grabulas has notified us that he will be absent. And we've got Scott Halstead.
Here.
Inez St. James.
Here.
And Marcy Schwartz notified us that she will be absent this evening. I've got John Vibbert.
Here.
And Keith Vibbert.
Here.
Okay.
Awesome.
Madam Chair, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's Inez St. James, the acting chair for the Town of Farmington Plan and Zoning Commission. It's our virtual meeting this Monday, October 25th, 7 p.m. Thank you for all the commissioners for joining us. Before we start the meeting, I do need to make some appointments since we typically have 6 full members, and we do not have that today. John and Keith, I would like to appoint you as voting members. You're good with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And Scott, would you do the honors and be the acting secretary this evening?
Yes.
Awesome. Great. So that's done. So Scott, go ahead if you can read the legal notice to start us going. We do have some public hearings tonight.
Okay. Town of Farmington Town Plan and Zoning Commission. Notice is hereby given that the Town Plan and Zoning Commission will hold an online public hearing on Monday, October 25, 2021 at 7 p.m. on the following applications. Eliza Panett special permit application for home business, dog grooming, at 37 Wolf Pit Road, R20 zone. Paul Stepka application for special permit for addition to home in excess of 30% existing finished living area and to exceed total square footage of 2,200 square feet at 23 Moses Place, R12 zone. Interested parties are encouraged to participate in this online public hearing. The link to this meeting may be found on the Town of Farmington's website at the link on your screen. A copy of this proposal is also available online at the link on your screen or by calling the planning department at Farmington Town Hall at 860-675-2325. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, the 7th day of October, 2021. Town Plan and Zoning Commission, Inez St. James, acting chair.
Thank you, Scott. Nice job.
You're welcome.
All right. New business items are first, and then we'll go through each one, vote after each one, and move on to public hearings. So the first item is Loretto Sign Group is here in front of us with a sign application for property located at 2 South Main Street in Unionville. Who do we have?
We do. We have Allison and.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There you go.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So the proposal is for 3 20-square-foot wall signs, one on the northeast elevation of the new proposed bank for Thomaston Savings Bank, one on the northeast elevation, north elevation, and south elevation. And then we're refacing an existing directional sign. And then there's a clearance panel on the side of the building as well. And the signs are non-illuminated. And
so this building was occupied by Sovereign Bank, or no?
Yeah.
Santander.
Yes, Santander, thank you. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Oh, thank you for having pictures. So this sign is changing?
Yes. So this is the existing face, right?
Correct.
This is the proposed.
And now it's gonna be white with the blue lettering.
And this is existing, and this is proposed.
Okay.
Right? So just really the red is changing to blue.
Okay.
And there's location. So this is the location of the directional sign. And then this is the location of the sign on the south elevation where the building entrance is. The sign on the east elevation, the sign on the north elevation. And then this is the clearance sign on the northwest corner of the building.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you, Allison. Thank you, Shannon. Let's go to the commissioners for questions. Patrick, you have any questions?
No, pretty straightforward. What did I know it went before ADRC, and how did that go? I know that's somewhere in here.
Yeah, no problem. It actually came in as an email, Commissioner. So it, with respect to the signs, ADRC had no comments to the signs, and it was received a positive referral as submitted for the signs.
Okay, yeah, no more questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
No questions, thanks.
Thank you. John?
No questions. Welcome to Unionville.
And Keith?
I have no questions either. Thank you.
And I do not have any questions either. It's the same building, same traffic flow, just a replacement, right, in kind. So it sounds like, well, Allison, is there anything else that we're missing that you want to add?
No, that's everything.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. I feel like we're ready to make a motion and second, if everyone is ready.
Okay, Patrick Carrier, I'd like to make a motion to approve the sign application by Loretto, a sign group, to install new signage located at address number 2 South Main Street, Unionville, as presented.
Second,
Gilbert, I second.
thank you both. All right, we have a motion and a second. We're going to take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and any opposition? I think I heard everybody. Any opposition though? No, okay, so unanimous. Thank you very much, Allison.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, the next item is Mark Marzi will be presenting a site plan application for a facade improvement at the same building, 2 South Main Street.
Good evening, commissioners. So we went in front of ADRC the other night and did not receive a favorable input on the facade renovation. So tonight we are just proceeding with a large 4-bay window on the side of the building with changes where we originally had simulated divided lights. We've eliminated them based on the response of the design committee. So outside of that, we received favorable decision for the 4 units as they're drawn there. So tonight, currently, we're looking for approval for just those 4 windows as the building stands today.
Thank you for the information. All right, commissioners, let's do the questions. Patrick?
Okay, so those windows don't exist, right? They're going to be installed.
Currently, there are 5 window units on the existing building, and we are modifying them to have 4 window units. And if you go one more sheet down, there's the existing elevations.
There we go.
Okay, so it's more of just a modification. So it's going from 5 to 4.
A modification and improvement, correct.
Improvement, right, correct. Okay. Okay, thank you.
And the reason we changed and are looking for just the window approvals because it's has to do with the interior layout, the way the walls line up with the mullions that are there today with the proposed, as opposed to the existing.
But we're again just looking at the windows today.
Correct.
All right, anything else, Patrick?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
No, I'm good. Patrick actually asked the question I was thinking about as well. All good. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
So the 4 windows have replaced into 5, and then you're putting on new siding?
No, the existing has 5 window units and we want to replace it with 4 window units. And the existing brick building is going to remain as of today for now.
Okay, so we should ignore that siding?
Correct.
Okay, no further questions.
Thank you. And Keith?
I have no questions. Thank you.
And I do not have any questions either. All right, I think we're all set, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's do a motion and a second, please, commissioners.
Okay, so this motion now, so it's only the windows, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to approve the application by Mark Marzai for the improvements / installation of new windows on the south facing wall, or no, the wall facing South Main Street as presented.
Second.
I second.
Awesome, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. We're going to take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the next item, and did the presenter join us? Let's see. Okay, all right, one moment. We're cruising.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there anyone on the call this evening for 48 Spring Lane? Steve is.
Yeah, this is Steve Dickey. I'm on the call. I'm the
Okay.
president.
Thank you. So the next new business
Oh,
item,
here's-
oh,
yeah,
sorry.
We've got the, sorry, I was looking for the engineer. Galen, the Semperbond is on.
Yeah, I need the engineers. They have all the
All the
presentation.
information, yes, no, I understand.
There's a couple others.
Yeah.
So you're promoting them to?
Yeah, I
Okay,
just got, so Galen, you should be able to unmute your microphone.
Phil Clark.
so,
Clark was one of them.
Yeah.
okay, so we're looking at the application for CT Spring and stamping. And who's requesting site plan application for expansion to the building located at 48 Spring Lane. And go ahead.
So I just want to give a little overview on it. So we've been in business for about 82 years. We've been in Farmington since 1962. And really due to, increased business and expansion or desire for expansion, we'd like to add this 50,000 square feet to really expand for a state-of-the-art stamping facility. It would house all of our new stamping presses. We're also looking for to have higher ceilings. We currently are within 6 inches of our ceiling, and if some of our presses break, we're going to have to tear through our roof in order to repair and so forth. So we're looking to add equipment and expand into that facility, and really need to build something due to the requirements of the business and concrete floors and so, thick concrete floors for the stamping presses and so forth. So we have about 470 people we employ currently. We have a second building down the road at 28 Spring Lane. And this would be obviously an expansion here. So 470 people cover 3 locations. We bought a building in 2013 down in Southington, but really our first desire is to expand here in Farmington to be for efficiency, enhanced safety, and some other reasons. So we're looking to do that.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, who's going to walk us through that one?
Galen, are you taking the lead with the technical presentation for the plans and the architecture?
Good afternoon. This is Galen with Zubik Infrastructure. Fraser is trying to call in. Fraser Walsh, I don't know if he's on the list, but I can give you a brief walkthrough.
My apologies. I had some technical difficulties getting in here. My apologies for being late, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. So,
all right, so Mr. Dickey already provided an overview of the corporation and what they're looking to do from their manufacturing standpoint. So Fraser, if you'd like to take us through, we're ready to discuss the site plan. I've got a version of it up. I think it might be the latest. I guess this is probably the latest one for you. If you want to walk the commission through what you're looking to do, please.
Yeah, sounds great. So thank you again, everybody, for And my apologies for being late, but thank you again for allowing us to present this project to you. As I'm sure you have gleaned from our application documents, the Connecticut Spring and Stamping Company is looking to expand the current footprint of their existing facility by about 48,000 square feet. The addition will be constructed to the north of the existing building. Right there, exactly, yep. In order to do that, we're expanding the parking lot around the building towards the north. Thank you very much. We are increasing the developed condition of the site to about 47% impervious, including the installation of bituminous concrete parking spaces, sidewalks. The landscape plan is further along in the set, which we can spend some time looking at later. There is the addition of a few additional lighting poles. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. To dive into some of the particulars, the site is currently zoned CR. You may have mentioned that already, forgive me. We're proposing this development to meet the existing front, rear, and side yard offsets. We are proposing 288 parking spaces, including 7 ADA accessible spaces. Those spaces are located on the west side of the proposed addition. Thank you. And the south side at the current main entrance, and on the back side of the building on a secondary access there. The number of parking spaces, of course, was chosen to meet the largest shift, the number of employees in the largest shift. As I'm sure you've heard, the proposed addition is intended to do two things: improve the safety of the working environment in the building and expand the processes to allow the stamping operations to proceed in a more efficient manner. So the intent is to make more square footage to provide safer operating conditions as opposed to increase the total number of staff at the present time. The employees work on a rolling shift, so it's not as if 288 parking spaces will be required all at once, as Steve may have mentioned. So we don't anticipate any off-site parking needed as the shifts change. Delivery of materials will occur in a similar manner to what's happening today. Thank you, Shannon. As the current drop-off points, loading and unloading, are at the southwest corner of the facility for loading vehicles to leave the site, and right where your cursor is, that's where materials are dropped off. The proposed condition will maintain that location for the delivery of raw materials to be brought into a loading dock located right where your cursor is. They'll back into that parking space, or sorry, parking space, but back into that loading dock, and then proceed along the side of the building to exit the facility to the south, as they currently do. Waste materials and recyclables are currently stored in containers to the north and to the northeast corner of the building. Those are intended to remain the same. We're not anticipating any new noises with the proposed condition. Existing utilities serve the site, so not intending to make any changes there, with the exception of the stormwater collection and treatment system. As you all may be aware, there are 2 detention ponds located along Spring Lane. Thank you very much. That's we're calling the upper pond. And then further down to the south is the lower pond. Site currently site stormwater discharges to the north and east of the building from the existing parking lot, undetained. As part of this proposed project, we're capturing a majority of the stormwater that runs currently to the east and redirecting it in that storm sewer, thank you for following me that, back down to the upper pond, which is why the upper pond is going to be significantly enlarged with this project. Stormwater there will flow through an outlet structure at historic rates down into the lower pond, where it's then released to the south off the site. Let's see, the upland review area is that dashed line you see right there. Yep, that's the 150-foot offset. And if you want to flip then to the landscape plan, let's take a look at that. So the intent with the landscape plan is to meet planting criteria. So you can see the existing parking lot under the proposed building is being demolished for the building and expanded to the west and to the north. Majority of the forested, there you go, the forested area around the existing parking lot will be cleared in order to make way for the new parking lot and replaced with the trees, shrubs, and other plantings you see. Not shown in this drawing, but shown on the grading plan were the proposed improvements to the detention pond, which will basically be a grassy bottom. We are proposing in that pond to put in some water quality treatment systems, sort of a forebay that will treat water before it's released to the south. And with that, I'd love to hand the baton off to Phil to go over the architectural elements of the project.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Phil Clark, and I think you can hear me, correct?
Yeah, yes. Yep, you're all set.
Great. I'm the architect of record for the project. I'm with Claris Design Build out of Newtown. This is the elevations, showing the elevations. Is there a slide before that showing the floor plan?
Not on this slide, because that was the latest elevation, so what do I have?
It's great, it's perfect. So
Yeah, I just have I've got the two, I've got to go, I don't have everything all together in one package. That's kind of how we received it, so.
leave it right there, that's fine.
Okay.
So we're looking at all four elevations of the facility. It is a much higher facility than the existing.
Okay.
I don't care.
I'm gonna just put mine back. Hang on a second, sorry.
No worries.
Just one sec. If you are not actively participating in the presentation, if you could please mute your microphones, that would be very helpful. Sorry, Mr. Clark, please go ahead and proceed. Thank you.
No worries. So the as shown on the screen, the facility that we're proposing is a higher building than the existing 21 feet for the which is the existing facility's height. We're at 39'9" on the high side of the new facility, sloping to the north to about 37 feet. The roof will be prepared for solar arrays if in the future or when we're under construction, the owner decides to do that. It is a rather large roof and we can get a large array up there. The west elevation, which you're on, is typical of all the elevations as far as we have a vertical architectural metal siding, which is white, and you'll see that in the renderings, sitting on top of a 4-foot high wainscot of block. That's typical of just the west elevation of these two large 14-foot wide by 24-foot high overhead doors. They lead into the aisleways that supply the equipment, materials, raw materials, etc. And they need to be that tall because there's a huge, very large overhead crane that's installed in the building that's running east to west and throughout the entire length of the building. That's going to be first installed to be used to install the 13 heavy presses that are going to be installed in the building. And then it'll be used every day for moving around materials and maintenance equipment, et cetera. There's a lot of lights. You'll see clear story windows on all elevations. They are kind of matching the theme of the existing facility that has also a lot of natural light. And we appreciate that, and we've extended it around the entire new expansion. In fact, the LED lighting system that will be for the interiors will be tied into these natural light windows, and will, depending on the intensity of the sun, will dim or will intensify the lighting inside. So we're going to try and really depend on a lot of the natural lighting. These panels we were talking about, the vertical panels, are insulated panels, of course. So it'll be a very tight building. There'll be a lot of natural light, potentially a solar panel on top, solar array. And we will have some conduits out to the parking lot for future EVs, so electrical vehicles. So it's we're trying to make it as a environmentally friendly structure as we can. If you scroll down this page, you see the north elevation, and one more, you'll see the east. And on the east elevation, you'll see the blacked out areas. It didn't show too well, but those little black squares, those are we have 4 rooftop units, 2 that will be seen from the ground, and they will be screened with appropriate, screening, metal screening material that'll be complementary to the siding. That's the presentation for the exterior elevations. If we go to the renderings, were any renderings sent, I believe? There's some architectural renderings that
A colored rendering? I did not see a colored rendering.
Okay. All right. Well, we have some color renderings that just, for to really expose the colors, which are white and gray, to match the existing facility. They show some of the landscaping, which is in part kind of hides the new loading dock, which you'll see down there on the south elevation. Again, this is back of the building, so that's where the loading docks are now going to be located, which is kind of nice. And again, with some screening that we've put up with the landscaping, should appropriately hide some of the trucks that will be coming in and out. That's really the whole presentation from the architectural side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, because the loading areas in this configuration here, correct? So
That
you've
is
got
correct.
the loading and then parking. Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Shannon? That we will
I don't
be
know. Is Fraser, anyone else on your end have anything to share? Or
We're good on our end unless you have any questions for us, or welcome any questions for us.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go through questions now.
Thank you. All right, Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick Carrier. So you said that you didn't think there was going to be any difference in noise. So like in terms of loading and unloading stuff or product, I guess, into the facility, are the times going to stay the same? Is there going to be more of that? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that should all remain the same. I mean, we have regular deliveries from our raw material vendors and so forth. So instead of bringing us 5 pallets, they might bring us 7 or 8 or 9 pallets, but they're only going to make 1 delivery. So there really shouldn't be much difference at all as far as the deliveries and so forth. Should be very similar to what we have right now.
Okay, thank you. And the sloped roof, the sloped roof, was that for, is that actually for drainage, or is that for the solar panels? And that's more of a curiosity question.
It's for drainage. We're gonna have gutters and downspouts on the north side, but it just sets up nicely for solar array.
Okay. And then my last question, so to the north, Shannon, I don't know if you can pull up, what is to the north? So there's going to be, the trees are going to be cut down and there's going to be more plantings put in place. But yeah, what lies to the north of this facility?
Well, there will remain a number of trees there. Maybe you can speak to that, Fraser, but there is I'll say a thick woods there. We're probably going to take down some portion of it, but there's still going to be a barrier of woods in between us and our neighbor to the north there. So not all of it is being removed.
Yeah, correct. You can see that yellow property line there. There'll be the 15 to 20 foot offset to the parking lot. That'll all be replanted. And on the other side of the yellow line on the neighboring property, those trees, of course, won't be touched by this project.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Scott.
Thank you, Scott Halstead. So I know you said there were no plans immediately to increase staffing. Is that a potential in the future? And does this allow for that, this expansion?
I would say the people that we would need we run high-speed presses, so we need maybe a couple of tool makers and maybe a couple of quality people. There's no significant addition of personnel that's planned because it's mainly high-speed equipment running at coiled material through there producing parts, and it's just really just the key personnel, whether it be a tool maker or a setup person.
It's very automated. Yeah,
it's very automated. Correct.
Okay, thank you. And just to make sure I understand, so the height of the roof at the 39.9, that's in order for this crane to operate inside? Is that my understanding correctly?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. No more questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. John?
No questions?
Thank you. And Keith?
I have no further questions or any questions, sorry.
No, all good. So, Shannon, can you go back to GIS? So I know we are in commercial zone. So everyone, like, who are our neighbors? Are all factories or businesses?
So let's, we can start with the zoning map.
Yeah.
So this is 48 Spring Lane is the subject property being discussed. And so it's commercial, restricted commercial all
Mhm.
around.
Yeah.
So it's all commercial and really it's industrial, for the most part, industrial properties. This is more office. This property is accessed off of Route 6
Mhm.
and comes in. It's the multiple office buildings off of Route 6, but all of the immediate neighbors, it also has Scott Swamp Brook in between.
Yeah.
All the immediate neighbors on Spring Lane are all industrial, and this neighbor to the north is New England Airfoil.
Okay.
So all kind of similar operations and practices from what we would think of from your operating hours, truck deliveries,
Sure.
employees coming and going, those type of things. Obviously different manufacturing.
Yeah.
But from an operational standpoint, what we would look at somewhat similar.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I was asking you that question because of the height, right? Because this is much higher. The addition is much higher than the existing building. So I wanted to understand who is around
Sure.
this property. So this went in front of inland already?
It did,
Okay.
yes, and was approved by wetlands.
And engineering is all set? Or
Engineering was able to review the revised plans that came in at the end of the day Thursday. We were able to look at them today. There's a handful of things, but there's no concern that we'd be able to resolve the outstanding engineering comments. Should the commission choose to, they could make that a condition of approval, that those comments be addressed to the town staff satisfaction.
yeah, I think.
And I believe, Fraser, are you in concurrence? You've been on the phone, you've looked at these and been on the phone with Bruce regarding this.
Very much so, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Bruce has been very helpful. Thank you.
awesome. I personally like that condition, but I'll throw it out to the commissioners. Before we take the vote, is there anything else that folks from Connecticut Spring and Stamping want to add? We're
I
good.
don't know.
Hit mute for it, Steve, please.
I don't know, Steve, you're muted if you're
Oh, yeah, there
trying
we
to,
go.
there we go.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I mean, we're obviously looking for approval. This would be a great addition for us. It would make the efficiencies and safety and growth of the company, significant. And I believe we've gone through, due diligence to this point and intend to cross every T and dot every I to make sure that this is a great addition to the building and to the industrial park and good for all concerned. So.
Thank you. Thank you for your statements and all the information and the presenters. Everyone was on point. Thank you. Yes.
May I offer a couple of reminders?
Sure.
Okay. So just a reminder to the commission that there are 2 items with respect to this application that require the 5-6 vote. One of it is the impervious coverage and the other is building height. And then a second reminder is that the signs shown on the elevation. So while the elevation itself can be approved, the sign that's on the elevation, it would just be an approval accepting the sign that has to come in as a separate sign application to the commission. So just wanted to make you aware of these things so you understand before you go into a motion and deliberations. So that's all. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep. But is it okay for us to do it as one, or you recommend we do it as separate?
My guess is you can
Do one.
do it as one.
Okay.
That's fine.
Just want to confuse everyone.
No, well,
Yeah,
if we need,
but it's important.
if we need to break it out, depending upon how things go,
Discussion,
if
sure.
it's appropriate to break it out, we can, but I think it's fine to start as one, and if we need to adjust, we will.
And for discussion, we need to make the motion first, right?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
all right, so thank you for the guidance. So commissioners, we need a motion and a second, and then we can continue with discussion of this application.
Okay, so the motion should include the condition that that the engineering questions be addressed, correct?
Yes, please.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
That's what we would prefer, yes.
Okay. I would like to make, Patrick Carrier, I would like to make a motion to approve the site plan application by Connecticut Spring and Stamping for expansion to the building located at 48 Spring Lane as presented, and with the following condition that all engineering comments be addressed to the satisfaction of the town staff, our town staff.
Thank you. How about a second?
Keith Libber, I'll second.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Keith. All right, discussion. We can go in order. I mean, it's a small group this evening. Any concerns, comments? How do we feel about this application?
Okay, so again, Patrick Carrier, I did not mention in that motion the sign. Did that have to be mentioned?
It would make it cleaner, just so that since that the elevation is part of the package, that it's being approved without the sign, or being considered, the motion is made without the sign. So you can amend it, and then Keith could second the amendment if you choose.
Okay, and to amend it, how do I go about that now?
You just say that you'd like to amend your motion to include, or to include whatever statement you want to make, and then Keith can second that amendment.
Okay, so I make a motion to amend my previous motion to eliminate the sign, I guess, or to approve the what do you call that there? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The elevation, the elevation
Yep.
without the sign that is on the elevation.
Perfect. You got it.
Keith Libber, I would like to second Patrick's wonderful amendment to that.
Oh, geez. Awesome. Thank you. All right.
Patrick's got big shoulders.
You did it again, Pat. Good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Any discussion, you guys? Not, you're good. Patrick is good. Scott? Okay.
Yeah, Patrick, I'm good. No discussion.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm fine too.
John?
No questions, no discussion.
And Keith?
I'm comfortable moving forward as well. No questions, no discussion.
Quiet group. I'm just kidding.
Things done.
I know,
It
we
took
are.
to heart your comments last week.
That's right. That's right. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think, the applicant was clearly prepared, has been working with the town, based on the location of this building, the zoning. I think it's, the changes are appropriate. It will, obviously help the business, which we appreciate too. But I have no questions. And I think we're ready to vote, right? All right. So all in favor of the application from Connecticut Spring and Stamping?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Frazier. We will
Thank you,
be in
everyone.
touch to follow up. Okay.
I look forward to it, Shannon. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling in, everyone.
All right, and the last new business item is an application of, we need to accept an application for special permit from Robert C. Schlesinger, JRASLA. Am I supposed to read the whole thing? I should. No, it's okay.
Because you're gonna need a motion.
Yeah,
Somebody
okay.
Make a motion to.
Perfect, thank you. I am working on this timing. All right, so we need a motion and a second to approve this application, please.
To accept it and set the hearing date. Yep.
Accept the application and set the hearing date.
Okay, Patrick Carrier, I would like to make a motion to accept the application for special permit by Robert C. Schlesinger, Jr., ASLA, for charitable and philanthropic institution use at 119 Copper Mine Road in an R40 zone and schedule a public hearing with a recommended hearing date of November 8th, 2021.
Second?
Keith Bibbert, I'll second.
All right. All in favor of accepting this application?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I think we got everyone. All right. So that is slated for November 8th.
Yes.
Thank you, Shannon, for keeping me.
No
Straight here,
problem.
too.
Everybody's, you guys are doing great. You got it. This is
All right.
perfect.
Good. All right. Hopefully it didn't jinx me.
No,
All right. Now we are opening up the public hearing this evening. Thank you, everyone. For folks that plan on speaking in favor or opposition or have comments about the various applications, please state your name and your address. The first item that we have is from Ed Rollo. It's an application for special permit for accessory structure greater than 750 square feet at 41 Eli Road, R80 zone.
okay, I believe we have Ed Carrillo on the phone.
Yes, I'm here.
There
Can
you
you,
go. If you could, Mr. Carrillo, go ahead and explain your application to the commission so they can understand what you're asking for and ask questions if they have any. I have the site plan up, and I believe I also have your elevation plan for your shed as well, or your garage.
sure, that'll be great. Hello to everyone. I just want to give you a background story of the reason why I'm building the barn. Currently, we also own 39 Eli Road, and then also 4 empty lots around 41 Eli Road, 41 and 39 Eli Road. It's a total acreage around 20 acres. I live at, my father-in-law bought this property. Actually, when he bought it, there were around 11 lots. And then he divided those lots between my wife and my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law moved to Florida, so that's what you guys have seen, the lower lots sold recently, which are the first lots that you see whenever you turn from Old Mountain Road into Eli Road. Before they were sold, we kept it open, and that was the idea. But then, because my brother-in-law went to Florida, he decided to sell them. So our idea is to try to keep the rest of the lots, the rest of the land, the same way how it is right now. We have the lower lots, which we brush hog once or twice a year. Then we have higher grounds, which we mow. They're like around 4 acres. Then on the other side, 41 Eli Road, we have all the woods. And then there is a lot between 41 Eli Road and 55 Eli Road that's also part of the property. The reason why I need 1,250 square feet around right now, I have like around 1,000 square feet where I have all the equipment. We have tractors, backhoes, gators, 2 lawnmowers. We have a lot of farm equipment, so that's why we're building the barn. And when we move, my plan is to move later on to 41 Eli Road, and then what's going to happen to 39 Eli Road? We're not planning to sell it; we'll be renting it. So then I have to move all the equipment from 39 to 41 Eli Road, and that's why we're building the barn.
Thank you. Any other, so this is the proposed picture?
Right, the barn, that's how it's going to look. It's going to be similar. We're not going to have the side door. There is a side door. We don't need that. We will only have the larger door in the middle. And that siding is going to be similar color of what the houses are now. So it will match the property.
Okay. And
the location is 160. I moved.
No, sorry. Okay.
Okay. So the location is 164 feet from the road. So actually the the barn is a small barn for the amount of property around it on that lot.
So, okay, got it. Yeah, no, I was hoping for GIS, but we can,
I got
end the
it.
question. Okay, good.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
That's why I opened it
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
It's gonna be helpful. For
Yeah,
tonight.
yep.
Yeah, I test my driving skills and getting from point A to point B.
All right.
So this is,
So where's Old Mountain? Like where? are we?
well, here's, so
Okay,
Old Mountain's off,
yeah,
right? So Old Mountain.
Right there,
comes up.
yeah.
Here's Talcott Notch.
Okay.
So this comes off, Eli comes off of Old Mountain.
yeah.
And come up. And 41 is the lot in question. So Mr. Carrillo owns a number of these lots, but what he was saying, Mr. Carrillo, you currently reside at 39, and that's where the
39.
equipment is stored, and the intent is to move over to 41 and then move the equipment over to 41 as well, basically, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And-
So that's,
And the proposed structure is where?
the
Sort of?
proposed structure is roughly.
Okay.
in
Right
this
there.
Mhm, okay,
Yeah, so if you can see, so this, right, so you can, I'll flip back, so you can see the circle, so you get a couple of reference points, the circle for the driveway, right,
Mhm.
that separates 41 to 39, and the house location, and then if we come back to the plan,
okay,
right, you can see the same circle and the house location, and roughly 160 feet off the, so.
okay.
If I come here, I'm gonna test my, let's say roughly here. 154.
Close enough. Yeah, no, that's pretty good. Thank you. All right.
So basically right in that area. Okay,
Okay,
so there are trees that'll be removed. This did secure approval
Me-
with the zoning board of appeals in July, and there is no requirement from a wetland standpoint.
okay,
There is ridge line in the back,
okay.
so.
We're trying to keep as many trees as we can. We'll take the minimum amount. I mean, we like the trees. We want to keep them there.
Thank you. Anything else you would like to add, Mr. Corrillo? So-
Nope, I think everything is, I have said almost everything. So good.
Thank you very much. We're going to turn it over to the commissioners for questions. Patrick?
Yeah, so you reside at 39. So is what's, so 41 is being rented? Is it vacant?
No, my mother-in-law lives there.
Oh, okay. And so then you're gonna, so I see, I'm looking at the plan. So right now you got a driveway coming off of a driveway that's gonna be relocated. And then you'll
Right.
do, yeah, okay. Yeah, no further questions for me. I pretty much understand it. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
No questions?
Thank you. And Keith?
No questions, thank you.
All right, and I do not have any new questions either. This is a public hearing, so I want to give an opportunity to the public to voice their comments, opinion. Is there anyone online that would like to make a comment regarding this application? Please raise your online hand. Let's see here. Anyone?
Just, again, if anyone has called in to speak regarding this application, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom to indicate that you would like to address the commission, and you will be acknowledged to do so. No, Madam Chair, I'm not seeing any
Okay.
hands raised. There's nothing in chat or Q&A. No
Okay,
comments.
commissioners, before we close the public hearing, any last minute questions?
Oh, yeah, Patrick Carrier, I do have one more. So I'm looking at the grade lines. Is this was this plot plan drawn up? So the elevation of this, is it going to be sunk into the ground? Like the back wall is going to be kind of like a retaining wall in a sense? Is that how I see it?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but we went over all those elevations, with the town, or it might be, I think, only a couple of feet under.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know how accurate this was drawn. It does kind of look like that, which obviously, if that's the case, the back ends up not as high as the front. That's it. It was just a curiosity question again.
Okay, any other questions, commissioners? Okay, I'm closing officially the public hearing on the matter of Ed Quirello. And there are no outstanding questions, so I guess we can take if I can have a motion and a second on this application, that would be great.
Yeah, Patrick Carrier. I'd like to make a motion to approve the application by Ed Quirello for a special permit for an accessory structure greater than 750 square feet located at 41 Eli Road in an R80 zone, as presented.
Thank you. Second?
Keith Eber, I second.
Okay, so I think we're ready to vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're all set. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. The next item for public hearing in front of us is an application for special permit from Eliza Pinette. And who do we have on the line?
I believe Eliza has called in.
Yep.
Okay, if you want to please discuss your application with the commission. I have your narrative, I have your hand sketch, and I have the photos that you submitted. So as you want me to scroll through, I'm happy to do so in whatever order you would like.
Okay. I'll start with my what we have here on the screen.
Sure.
So I am the owner and the only employee of my grooming and pet sitting business that I put an application in to run out of my newly purchased home at 37 Wolf Pit Road. The grooming portion of my business is by appointment only and is drop off and pick up situation. So pet owners do not stay during the grooming process. When a client has a grooming appointment, they drop off their dogs, discuss with me what is going to be done, what they want, and they leave and return later once I let them know their dog is all set. On average, there's about 2 to 3 appointments per day in my scheduled workday, which I gave hours of operation roughly 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. But I mean, those can change. That's the earliest and the latest that I proposed. There will be little to no business related parking. The only parking that will be done is when a client comes, drops off their dog and leaves. The majority of the pet sitting portion of my business is done at my client's house. However, for any pet sitting job that's done here at 37 Wolf Pit, the dogs will have the freedom to be let out, play, do their business in the yard. It is fully fenced in. I know this said it was soon to be fenced in. It is completed with a 6-foot vinyl fence. And waste will be picked up on a regular basis and disposed of in the trash can. I think that's it.
Okay. And there's a big, well,
yeah, this is sort of just like a rough area of where it would be, the salon would be located in the basement. Sorry.
No problem. And
so the salon would stop at these black poles, would go, sorry, would go from this door that you see out to the black poles. And the ceiling would be covered with a drop ceiling as well.
Okay.
It would.
yep, we're good.
Yep, that's it.
That's it, Eliza. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't mean to sound so abrupt.
No, so I think there was another picture that showed the other end of the salon. Because it doesn't go all the way down.
Yeah,
in
these
the-
are so I've got one.
Oh, okay.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
what I've got for photos right now.
Not a worry. That basically where you're standing is where it would stop.
Gotcha.
Thank you. All right, I thank you for the presentation, and commissioners, let's ask questions that you may have, Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick Carrier. So you are the only employee. Is that going to change in the future?
No, I don't see it changing.
Okay, so if we put that as like a condition, you're okay with that?
Yes,
Of
absolutely.
approval? Okay, and then in terms of parking, now, when your client does drop off a dog or whatever, are they pulling in the driveway? Is that the intent?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, okay, so they would not be parking in the street and you would.
No,
you
not
would-
at all. Especially with the school right across. It can get pretty busy at certain times of the day, so they would pull right in.
Mhm. Okay, all right, I have a bunch of other questions, but I'll let it cycle through the other commissioners and I'm sure most of them will come up. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Patrick. Scott?
Yeah, Scott Halstead. So how long is the typical grooming appointment that you have? Or would you have multiple dogs there at a time that you're grooming? I guess
No,
that's
because
a
it's
couple of questions in one.
no worries. Because it's a by appointment only, it's only the dog that's scheduled, unless like if a client has 2 dogs, it's only their appointed time. So, and on average, it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours per appointment.
Okay, so you would cycle, you kind of finish one dog before you move down to the next.
Correct.
Is that what
And
you're
if it's a
saying? Okay,
different,
just to make sure I'm
Yep.
understanding.
yeah, if it's a different client, then I would, the first dog would be gone and back home, if you will, before the next one comes.
Okay. And you said, or I don't remember if it was in the documentation, that you had run this business at your previous location as well.
Correct.
Were there ever any concerns from neighbors or anything about anything that you heard? Okay.
Not at all, actually. Most of my, at least 2 to 3 of the neighbors around me were actually my clients.
Okay. And then the last question. So you mentioned the pet sitting as well. And
Mhm.
I think you said most of the time it'll be at other people's homes, but how many dogs at a time for that? Any sense of what that might look like?
Yeah, no more than 3 at a time.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for your answers. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Scott. And John?
No questions.
All right, and Keith?
I'm just curious to see about public comment. We're gonna have a chance to ask questions after the fact, right? Some of mine may be mitigated by public comment.
Okay, that's fine, yes, and you, right, this is a chance to ask the applicant questions. So, okay, what are my questions? Okay, thank you. I'm stuck on the fence. Do we need anything on the fence? 'Cause
So
it's on a
the
main road.
fence is a registration. I believe
Okay.
the paperwork.
Yeah,
is-
I'm sorry. I have the paperwork. I'm actually sending it back in tomorrow
Okay,
for the
Okay.
registration form.
Okay, good,
so it's not an approval for us.
got it, okay, all right, and she's doing
Typically.
the right thing, okay, that's awesome. So it's, and you have run this business before.
Mhm.
So hours of operation are 8 to 7.
Roughly.
Roughly, like, would you be okay if we were to limit it to 5, like a regular, I mean, I know it's a home business, but would that be a problem?
For grooming, or like I only say it till 7 because sometimes pet sitting gets picked up later if they go home that day.
Okay.
But I can work with 5 no problem.
And correspondence have, so everybody was notified, right? The proper procedure was
Yes, we
followed?
did. We have one piece of written correspondence. Would you
Okay.
like that?
Yes.
No? Okay. So there was an email received from Rebecca and Paul Holyoke at 20 Elizabeth Road, which I believe is around the corner. And they wrote to express their opposition to the request for dog grooming and pet sitting. This was provided to Ms. Panett, and it also was shared with all the commission members in advance of the meeting this evening.
So, okay, and that's all we have, and I know it's a public hearing, so.
That's the only
okay.
written comment.
Yep.
There are, I've got a couple, I've got two. There's a couple of people that would like to, it seems, would like to speak on this matter. so.
Okay. And just, I think me personally, you are gonna, or you already are, you're a homeowner, right? You are in a residential zone.
Correct.
So the overnight piece is, how does that work, and are pets loose, like, just more like noise and not really impacting the neighborhood, right? Because you want to be a good neighbor and
Correct.
everything.
And I'm usually outside, like if I have to let the dogs out, I'm usually outside with them. It's not like I'm leaving them outside to just kind of bark and be a nuisance.
And I guess you would crate them, the visiting dogs?
If needed, yes.
Okay, I am all set with my questions. Commissioners, before we close our questions for now, and turn it to the public, any other questions from the applicant? Or for the applicant, excuse me? We're good, okay.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Yep, no problem, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so thank you, and let's turn it over to the public. Shannon.
Okay, so I know there's a few people that have put comments in Q&A. There's a few people that have put comments in chat. I'll ask you that all comments have to be during the public hearing, have to be expressed verbally. So I can see everybody's logged on. Raise your hand using the feature in chat, and you will be called on to address the commission. So if you raise your hand, there's a couple of people that are on, so you will be called on to address the commission. And have an opportunity to speak and ask your questions and comments. And we already, I can see Brian Connolly, if you want to go ahead and address the commission, you should be able to unmute your microphone and express any comments or concerns you have regarding this.
Sure, thank you very much. I just want to start by saying I want to welcome Eliza and her family.
So we need a name and address. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm Brian Connolly. I should know this. Brian Connolly at 43 Gale Road in Farmington.
Thank you.
Sure. So I just wanted to, again, welcome Eliza and her family. I've gone over there and met them, and they're lovely people, and I welcome them to the neighborhood. And I did want to just point out that I do agree with Eliza, as she stated in her letter, that this is a great residential neighborhood to raise a family, as I did, and I'm sure she will really enjoy being here as well. I love being able to walk my kids to school, and that's a great benefit of being in this neighborhood. I did have a couple of questions and concerns that I was hoping that we could have addressed or at least answered, and that is, while this is a great neighborhood to raise a family in a great residential neighborhood, I don't know if it's really the place for a business of this sort. I work from home. I work on my back porch, but I don't think that my activities might be disturbing to my neighbors. I hope I'm not. And I see the potential for that, and I would like to at least have that at least considered, because my question is, while I applaud her going out and doing stuff off-site, it sounds like a number of people will be coming here on a daily basis and dropping their dogs off. And it sounds to me like they might be here pretty much dropped off in the morning and here for the day, and then picked up as late as 7 o'clock at night. So it sounds like we're doing more than dog grooming, but we're also doing dog boarding. You can call that pet sitting, but if they're here for the day, my question is, are they here for more than a day? Do you ever board dogs for a couple of days, maybe a week, maybe more, while people are away on vacations? I was kind of curious to hear about that. I don't know if this is quite the place for that kind of boarding. I was looking at your previous location, on Crescent Avenue. It looked like it, and I don't know for sure, but it looked like it was right behind the bottle shop in Central Wheel, which is a business district. And I can see why, that might be okay to have a business right next to a business, but this is in the middle of a residential neighborhood across from schools. And I do have questions about that. I do have concerns about that. The other, because it is a busy road, as many of you know who bring your kids to school at either East Farms or IAR, the traffic here is pretty dismal, at certain times during the day coming and going. And Patrick, you're right. If people do, for whatever reason, to quickly get in, or if the driveway is full for whatever reason, people will be parking on the street, just exacerbating an issue of traffic, especially with cars and buses trying to get through. So I've just wanted to see if that was certainly considered. I do work from home as well, and I do work outside, and there is a concern about the noise. If we have 2, 3, who knows how many dogs, but outside in the yard, I'm sure I'm not concerned about the cleanup, but I am concerned about the noise, because I don't know, it's going to be different dogs on a regular basis, and who knows what that situation might be. So I do have a question about that, because I don't know if they're going to be inside or outside. So that was my question about the boarding is my concern, or where I have the most questions. And I don't really think this residential neighborhood is quite the place for a business to have people coming and going on occasion, but it's the coming and going in traffic that I have concerned about. And that's all I'm going to say, because I know other people want to speak as well.
Thank you, Brian, for your comments. And Eliza,
Do we want to hear, do we
all of
want to
them?
have all the comments? And
Okay,
then we can
yeah,
go
that's
back
fine.
and answer, and
That's perfect.
it
Yeah.
might help eliminate
Yeah,
it
yeah,
back and
Good
forth
suggestion. Yeah.
for now. The next person that has their hand raised is a D. Olette. If you could, you should be able to unmute your microphone. And please give your name and address and address your comments and concerns to the commission, please.
My name's Dave Olette, 40 Gale Road, Farmington. You can hear me, yes?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, the concerns I have are similar to Brian's. We already have a significant amount of traffic in the area, especially recently. And for about, twice a day, 45 minutes or so, I can't even get out of my driveway because there's so much traffic. And having people dropping their dogs off during that time would be problematic. Even one car up the street parked in a road causes a real problem. I also work from home all the time, and as long as it's reasonably warm out, I have my windows open all the time, and most of the time it's quiet. And having dogs barking, even if it's one dog all the time, would be really disruptive for me. And from the hours of the stated business, also from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's pretty much, it's 11 hours a day, and certainly within all my working time. And they have that kind of noise going on all the time. My office window pretty much faces the backyard where the dogs would be. So it would be a constant annoyance, even if it's only one dog. And I saw one other point that had come up about having dogs next to athletic fields. If one of them got away or started roaming around, it would be a problem because there's always kids over in the athletic field playing around, having soccer, whatever, almost all the time, especially during when it's warm out. So those are my concerns. I just don't think it's a suitable area for a business like that with the dogs in this residential neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Okay, there's a few of you that have made comment in the chat and Q&A, but your hands are not raised, so I can call on you. I would prefer if you raise your hand using the Zoom feature, and then you will be called on to address the commission. All right, so Sarath, you should be able to unmute your microphone and address the commission. Please provide your full name and address, please.
My name is Rat Sirsuk. I'm at 54 Lexington Drive. I'm right next door to 37 Wolf Pit. And I do agree with my two neighbors who just voiced their concern. I also have the same concern because I'm pretty close proximity to the neighbor. And sometimes I work outside. I work from home, and I believe that the dog being outside, sometimes unattended, they can chase the animal barking, and that will affect a lot of my meeting that I have at work.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Okay, Susan Miller, again, full name and address, please, and you may address the commission.
My name is Susan Miller. I'm at 42 Lexington Drive. Part of the back of my property touches the back of Eliza's property. I've got a few concerns. One of them obviously is the noise. There also does not seem to be too many restrictions. Right now, she has an average of 2 or 3 dogs, but there's nothing to say that she could be doing more in the future. And it could be a successful business for her, but it would not be a good outcome for her neighbors. And as far as boarding, if she has 2 or 3 dogs coming in and she has 2 or 3 dogs being boarded, now we're talking about 5 or 6 dogs at the house at the same time. The other thing is, I don't think that that type of business really is suitable for the kind of quiet neighborhood that we have. And I don't want to set a precedent of saying that this kind of business with people coming in and out is okay. So I am objecting to this.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, anyone else? I'm gonna try. Ian, did you, Ian, if you'd like to unmute your microphone, you can. I know you had chat comments, but you'd have to unmute your microphone and address the commission if you want. Any of the comments in chat in the Q&A are not made part of the record. So the chat and Q&A are not included in the record. If you want a comment or concern included in the record, it needs to be done verbally or prior to the hearing in writing via email. Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak regarding this application, either in favor or against, or any other comments?
Okay.
Okay, I'm not hearing any at the moment.
Okay, so let's turn it back to the applicant, Eliza. If you could respond to what you heard today, the concerns and questions, we would appreciate it.
Sure. It mostly seems like noise and traffic is a big factor. For noise, I mean, I can't guarantee, like, I can't sit here and say no dog is going to ever make a noise. I mean, the noise will be taken care of. Like I said, I go out in the yard with them. It's not like they're going to be running around chasing things, barking. It's all going to be taken care of at the moment. The parking or the traffic, I will be telling each client that drops off, they have to pull into my driveway, as there is the school, both schools, and the traffic does get kind of crazy. I mean, I can't, I'm going to let them know, like, it's a must. They have to pull into the driveway, especially for the especially for the people of the all the other people in the neighborhood. There was a concern about dogs getting out and running loose. It's no different than if someone was walking their dog and the collar was to break or they were to slip out. It's no different than that dog getting out. Not saying that my dogs are going to get out. We have a secure fence. I'm very cautious with all the dogs that come in and out of my business. That's my top priority, is the safety and responsibility of every dog that comes through my business. As well as making sure that it's still quiet in the neighborhood, if you will. Like I mean, there's not much I can say about that. I can't promise a dog won't bark, but I can promise that I can take care of it immediately, so it's not a disturbance to any neighbors.
Okay. Anything else, Eliza? Or
No, I
Okay.
think I covered them all. I don't know if I didn't, I will.
I think so. Thank you. Some of it, multiple people have raised, so that's fine. So, commissioners, before we close the public hearing, do you have enough information from the applicant?
Can I ask one? This is Keith Weaver. Can I ask a question of the applicant?
Yes.
Liza, how many, I'm sorry if this was answered and I just missed it, but how many dogs do you own personally now?
I own 2.
You own 2 dogs, okay. And this is a question for town staff, I guess. Is there a limit for how many dogs you can own I don't think there's a limit for how many dogs a resident can own, is there? Or is it?
Again, we come back to the kennel definition.
Yes, okay,
So
yep.
6, I believe. So when we read that, then
So that's probably the
it
limit
would
then.
be six dogs over the age of 6 months that are permanently housed within a residence. So
Okay.
if you have more than 6, then that would be considered a kennel, which is not permitted. So
But anybody could, by luck of neighbor, have somebody move in next door to them that has 6 loud licensed dogs in a back fenced in area. And as long as they weren't a public nuisance biting or running into people's yards, there's really nothing we would do about that, right? Other than if they were noisy at hours that they weren't supposed to be or something like that. Is that pretty accurate?
correct. If it was a public nuisance, so obviously if they were out and caused harm to somebody, then we get animal control involved.
Sure.
Otherwise, it's a public nuisance and noise, and PD is typically involved. It
Okay.
typically wouldn't be a zoning violation because again, if it's under the 6, then it's not considered 6.
Yeah, it's not like we
Right.
told someone they could have chickens and they have a rooster that's going crazy, and then when they come back for review, we tell them that they have to keep it to
Correct.
chickens, right?
Correct.
Okay, the rest of mine will be for discussion with I don't have any other questions for the applicant.
Thank you, Keith. Any other comments from commissioners or questions?
Yeah, Patrick Carrier. So Elijah, walk me through how that would work. So somebody would come to the house, drop off the dog, they would pull in the yard. You said 8 a.m. When is the traffic heaviest there around the school? I don't know for sure.
From what I've kind of figured-ish in the last month, it's usually during pickup for schools. I don't know what times those are for the elementary and the middle school. Yeah, between 3 and 4, pretty much. There is a line of cars down the street. So I mean, I can easily work around that because I limit my dogs per day. I can work around those times as well.
Okay, and it's safe to say though, you would probably only have one pickup through that busy hour because you're grooming one dog at a time. And is that the same for the morning? I'm assuming it is.
Yes, correct. Everything is one at a time, one car in, one car in, they leave. I might not have another one for an hour and a half.
Okay, so they never overlap. It's one, and then usually there's a time in between. So it's always going to be only one car in your driveway.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? Okay, thank you. And Shannon, tell me if this is the wrong timing, but so we have a business owner that does grooming and pet sitting. When we vote on this application, could it be one? Or like, do we vote both items, or can we approve grooming, not the overnight part, or?
Yeah, you can. So the
Okay.
commission is free to make the conditions they feel are appropriate
Okay.
for the application. You can break it up
Sorry.
if you feel that that's going to be easier to address. And we can, which I believe I put in the agenda review, require a 1 year come back in.
Yep.
To see how things are going, like we do with the chickens.
Okay.
At least it'll require, to come back in, we can check in with, PD, make sure there hasn't been disturbance calls. Obviously, if we've gotten disturbance notifications, we would know, so.
Right, and it is an existing business, right? Has been in town.
It is an
Yeah.
existing business. We have not received zoning notifications, and I'm not aware, I did not check with PD, but typically if there is something going on, we do typically hear about these types of matters.
Okay. All right, so if there are no more questions.
I have another one.
Oh,
I have
go ahead.
another one,
Yeah, yeah,
Patrick.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Are you planning on having any signs at all as part of this? So somebody's going to be trying to find your place. Is the address going to be sufficient, or are you planning on putting a business name?
I have a yard sign, but if it's not allowed, I don't have to put it down. I did have one in my previous business because the address didn't match with the house. Like it would send people up the street, so I put it out as a marker. But if it's not allowed here, the address does come right to my house.
Okay. Okay. So the address, so you would be okay with no sign and just the address?
Yeah, if that's a something that you guys tell me that's totally fine.
And then what is your feeling? Let's say we do, so the grooming portion we're okay with, but the pet sitting is not allowed. Is that a make or break for your business?
I mean, it would sufficiently, it would impact me pretty much. I mean, a lot for sitting that's not done at my house, or that is done at my house, excuse me. It definitely would be an impact, but I mean, if it's a yes or no based on that, then I have to kind of just do with it.
And then how often do you think that does occur? Okay, so you said mostly at other residents. How often, can you give us just like a number roughly?
Oh goodness. I would say so if in a month I have maybe 6 pet sitting jobs to do, maybe two of those, 1 or 2 is at my house.
Okay, thank you.
All right, one more time, commissioners, or we have enough information
Yeah.
from the applicant?
This is Scott. I have a question now.
Go ahead.
I just want to keep it rolling. That's all.
That's right,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
want it, once we close it, we can't go back, so get them out.
I
on the
know,
table.
that's why I'm jumping in.
That's fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
So, and this might be more for town staff, but I wanted Eliza to be able to answer too. So the numbers are making my head hurt. So if she has 2 dogs, does that mean she can only have 4 additional dogs at the house at any given time? Am I understanding that right?
So the grooming at one, so if we take it from a grooming standpoint at 1 or perhaps 2 per visit, if a client happens to have 2 dogs and they bring them both at the same time. So worst case would be 2 for grooming, that's fine. For pet sitting, the commission can put a limit on the total number. I would definitely keep in mind that the applicant has 2 dogs at their home already. So if the commission is going to choose to allow pet sitting, then I think that has to be a total number of dogs for pet sitting, excluding her home dogs that she already has the ability to have, and quite honestly could change to 3 or 4 of her
Mhm.
own dogs and does not need approval from any of us to do so. So, and yes, and then the boarding, I'm assuming the pet sitting, Ms. Panett, can you clarify, the pet sitting is day only? Do you do overnight pet sitting too? Or how, and is it the overnight pet sitting at your home or at somebody else's?
Yeah, so it's the same. So it's the same. So I could have a dog here for the day, or they could stay overnight, depending on how long the owner is out of town, or if they just need to drop off for the day.
Okay.
And
So
it's the same
sometimes it is
same
an
as my
overnight
current dog.
situation.
I'm sorry?
Okay. Sometimes it is an overnight situation where one dog is with you for multiple days, whether it's 2 full days or 4 or 5 full days.
Correct.
That does happen depending upon travel, whether it's a vacation or work travel.
Correct.
So Eliza, this is Scott Halstead again. This kind of piggybacks off of one of Patrick's questions. So I think you told him you had like 2 or 3 pet sitting appointments a month. Did I hear that number right?
Yeah,
Like at your house?
It was like a rough estimate. So if I had 6
Right.
jobs scheduled, maybe 1 or 2 would be at my house.
Okay, and how many of those, and I know it's hard, but if you could kind of guesstimate, how many of those are multiple night versus, like just for a day or whatever?
It's hard. I would say maybe 1 is just for the day, and 1 is like, if there was 2, 1 is just for the day, 1 is just for a couple days. It also all depends on where in the year it is, like holidays versus work travel.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else, commissioners? All right, silence, I guess that's it, we're all set. So thank you very much, Eliza, for all the information. At this point, I'm going to close the public hearing. And we need a motion and a second, commissioners, before discussing reasons to support or deny the application.
Okay, so I'm thinking that I'll make a motion and then I'll amend it because there's quite a bit of conditions that I see going forward. Does that work?
Sure, that's fine. We can keep track of it.
Okay. All right, so Patrick Carrier, I make the motion to approve the application by Eliza Panetti for a special permit for a home business dog grooming located at 37 Wolf Pit Road in an R20 zone with as presented.
Sorry, keep it for next second.
Thank you. All right, discussion?
I can start
Okay.
if we're not going alphabetical or.
Yeah, do you want it alphabetical or?
That's fine. Go
Good.
for it. You
All
can
right.
switch it up.
So I was going back and forth with myself. So things that I think that are in the favor of this are, one, the applicant has had a business like this before, has been able to answer questions, seems to really be conscientious about the job that she's going to be doing. And my thought keeps going to, I have my next door neighbors have 2 dogs. My neighbors across the street have 3 dogs. There's quite a bit of barking in my neighborhood. They're both great people. I like them very much. So there are dogs in Farmington. Now that is different than having a business in Farmington. So if there's going to be multiple, if this is like a happening grooming spot and we have, slot after slot after slot of dog coming in, cars coming in and out, then I completely commiserate with everybody who had public comment. I would not really want that on my street either. I wouldn't want a business that was busy. That being said, so in my head, I also kept going back to Commissioner Poxon when we had the application for the garage over on Redcoat Lane. And he said, essentially, if your business is not wanted sort of in the neighborhood that you're in, maybe it's not the right neighborhood for the business. And so I'm getting kind of pulled back and forth between both areas, which is why I agree with where Patrick went with the amendment. which is, I think there's probably a gray area where there's some compromise that can be done here, where if we have restrictions on what can be done, how much business can be done throughout the day, I think we can get to a place where there can be some business, but I would want to put protections in place for the neighborhood so they didn't have to fear that this would become a busy, booming dog business where their neighborhood was sort of overrun with cars and dogs. Do I see that happening? I don't, based on what I've heard, and I don't want to level that accusation at the applicant, but that is a fear, and I can understand being in a neighborhood and having that fear. And so that's where I go back and forth. So I would put restrictions personally on number of dogs throughout the course of a day, probably number of dogs throughout the course of a week, and then number of overnight visits. And I don't know how the issue for me then becomes, how do we police that? You know, we're just kind of going on the honor system with some of that stuff, but that's where I'm at. I don't know if anybody else has agreement or disagreement, but.
Thank you, Keith. That was great. Patrick, John.
Yeah, Patrick Carrier, I agree with Keith. Yeah, so I'm definitely hung up on the noise, I guess, the dogs in the yard, the traffic. I'm not so concerned. I mean, I just don't see it being a huge, a huge deal. It's one car parked in a driveway. And if we put conditions like, no other employees unless they live there, that will limit that as well. So yeah, I agree that we should definitely include conditions. And the other question is again, I've asked this before, but the special permit follows the house, correct? So if Eliza moves out, the next person can do pretty much the same thing?
Yes, under the same conditions and so as tight or as loose as the restrictions are, it would be the same exact restrictions. So somebody coming in to do something, if it wouldn't apply to a different home business. So if somebody was coming in to do a hair salon, right, instead of dog grooming, it would not apply. It has to be exactly the same and adhere to exactly the same conditions that are placed on it this evening or amended in the future as needed.
Right, yeah, and that's the only thing. I know it'd probably be rare, but of course, so if we feel comfortable with Eliza and answers she's provided, it is also scary for the next one. So that you would cover yourself with conditions, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. John?
So I'm not very concerned about this at all. It sounds like, if I'm hearing correctly, that the dogs coming in from grooming will be sequential. So there may be one or two dogs in for grooming at one time, and they'll be gone before the next one comes in. I don't expect there to be a whole lot of dogs running around the backyard, as I've heard people are concerned with. I'm assuming this is all a normal neighborhood, so there's plenty of dogs already in the neighborhood. And it doesn't sound like this particular business, while it's going to be bringing dogs in and out, is going to be causing a problem in terms of having more dogs there. And certainly the way one car comes in and leaves and another one comes in and leaves, I'm not at all concerned with the traffic. There's far more traffic coming in from the schools than there would be for this dog grooming place. So I have no problems with exactly the way it's laid out, and I would approve it. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And Scott?
Yeah, so I think I'm not worried about the traffic either from the discussions everybody had. And it's funny that Keith brought up Commissioner Pogson in the garage, because I had the same exact thought. So I too want to make this work for everybody. And the grooming part seems easy to me because it's sequential, like John just said. It's one after the other. It's whenever there's enough pet sitting that we start to get to that 6 number that I start to get a little nervous about what the noise situation might sound like. So I think, Keith's comments about putting some limits, and others said it as well, but makes some sense, particularly on the pet sitting piece of it.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you all. I absolutely have no problem with the grooming portion of it, but the boarding piece, And in thinking about the neighborhood, do we want to vote separately on each one, or it almost feels like we should? What do you guys think? Is it, I mean, I know,
It's fine. No, so from a staff standpoint, that's fine. You could vote on the grooming and then you could vote on the pet sitting separately. So you could do it as 2. You could do it as 3, grooming and then pet sitting and then overnight if you wanted to do, although the pet sitting seems to be kind of, the overnight is almost going hand in hand with the day, but you could definitely break it into 2 if you wanted to, if that would help with the conversation.
what do we think, or are we making it too complicated? I think we should probably add that 1-year review, no matter what. What do you think? You know, like we do with chickens, just to make sure the neighbors are still good with everything. I'm sure you'll hear before then, right, Shannon?
Oh, I'm sure we will too. Yep. If there's a problem, we're either us or PD are the first to know.
So are we doing it as grooming and then pet sitting, and any restriction or conditions, or just one?
This is Scott Halstead. I think separately makes some sense.
Okay. All right. So do you want to take, you can take off the easy one first. So you could do we would need Patrick then to amend his motion. He has a motion.
It's just special permit for home business as presented. That's all he said.
So it was as presented, but it included the pet sitting. So we would modify it to be just the pet grooming. And then discuss any conditions for the pet grooming, such as number of only the applicant is the only employee, hours of operation, and whether or not you want to limit weekends, weekdays and weekends, and the number of dogs at any one time for pet grooming. So you can absolutely start with that if Patrick, if you want to amend your motion and start.
Okay, so if I amend, first of all, when I did read my motion, I specifically did say home business for dog grooming. But then is it the as presented that kind of, because really the only thing that was mentioned was dog grooming?
It was the as presented, so we just, if we want to say just the dog grooming and not the pet sitting, and the modifications for that, so that it's clear that it's
okay,
not, so that's the as presented included both.
Gotcha. Okay, so then I would amend it. So basically I'm amending it and then I'm also putting in the conditions.
Yes, please.
Okay, so now that so we're gonna have to kind of, there's quite a few conditions. What are we, so we're talking about
For just the grooming, we're gonna do conditions for just the grooming.
Right, correct. So just the grooming. So I guess we're gonna have to talk about what those conditions are. We mentioned a few, but how many dogs are we allowing to be groomed at a specific time, and are we limiting the hours? I'm gonna have to hear back from the commission members on that.
Okay, so you want to chat, have a conversation?
I like the condition that it's applicant only, no other employees. And I think no Sundays, and I think it's okay 8 to 7, but maybe you all feel that maybe it should be shorter.
And you had mentioned
8.
Yep.
I think 8 to 7 is reasonable. This is Keith. People need time to be able to, the purpose of them being, people need time to work and be able to get there after the fact. I just wouldn't want people coming in at all hours of the night, headlights and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you had mentioned 5 at one point, Inez, so we're going to change that back to 7?
Yeah.
All right, and there was, so the employee one, all right, so you know what, I'll just take a stab at it and
You're good, we'll help you.
okay, so basically I'm amending my previous motion to include dog grooming only located at 37 Wolf Pit Road in an R20 zone with the following conditions. Only those residing in the dwelling may engage in the home business. Okay, let me see. Let me see back here. So the backyard fence, we don't have to have in there, right? That's already,
Yep.
that would be part of the other one. Okay.
The hours.
Yeah, the hours. So only between the hours of 8 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Monday to Saturday.
Yeah, Monday to Saturday. Okay. There shall not be any signage on the property that persists to the business other than the address. Any customers dropping off or picking up their dogs must park in the driveway. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, did I miss anything here?
Number of dogs at one time.
So limited to one dog at one time.
Okay, if the client has two dogs, can we, so if one homeowner has two dogs, can they come at the same time, or you still just one at a time? They've got to drop one and then when the one's done, come back, which is fine. I just want to be clear so we understand.
I mean, I think I would say one client at a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
For traffic reasons.
That's a good way to do it.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
Client is a person, not a dog.
one client, right, one dog, one client.
One client.
equals one dog owner.
Yeah. Thank you, Keith. I think did I get everything? Is there something else that?
I think you got it all for grooming.
Yeah, for grooming.
And we just need a second.
Keith Bibbert, second.
Okay. Shannon, we are okay to vote on this one, or?
I think so.
Yeah, well, okay. All right. So we're voting on the grooming portion of the application for Eliza Pinette at 37 Wolf Pit. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so unanimous. We're good with the grooming portion with the conditions. And now we have the pet sitting piece.
Okay. So
Go ahead.
okay, so we have to make another motion in order to open discussion, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I make the motion to approve the application by Eliza Panetti for a special permit for a home business for dog, what is that called again? Oh, boy.
Yeah, the pet sitting.
Pet
dog
sitting, sorry. So
Yep,
for
you're good.
pet sitting, located at 37 Wolf Pit Road in an R20 zone. And that's it. I'll leave it at that.
What's your second?
I'm here. Keith Bibbert, second.
Thank you. All right, discussion on the pet sitting portion.
I don't have much to add personally. I think I agree with the amendment as Patrick laid it out.
So you are good voting for it, or?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I go back to, I understand, that there's a big difference between, I go back to the restrictions on how many dogs I'm going to own. And there's a difference between my 3 dogs or my neighbor's 3 dogs that I've come to know over a number of years, and then somebody dropping off dogs and having them stay overnight, the concerns about that. And so there's a difference between my analogy of if you could, by luck of the draw, move in and have a neighbor with 6 dogs, or you could have a neighbor with 2 dogs or no dogs. So I would keep the same sort of limitations that we had on the grooming, one client, a certain amount of dogs for overnight. But beyond that, I agree with what John had said earlier. There's a fenced-in area, a conscientious homeowner that does not want to release crazy dogs upon her neighbors. I'm in favor of going forward with it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Scott, do you have a comment on the pet sitting portion?
I do. I'm still concerned about it because I think this is where you add the numbers and the irregularity to it. And I understand what Keith's saying about sort of luck of the draw, but in this case, it feels like we'd be creating that luck of the draw for this neighborhood by saying that they could have up to 6 dogs at a time there, or whatever the number is. So I'm much more concerned about the pet seating piece. Again, the grooming we just voted on was easy, but I'd like to see some limitations on that.
This is Keith again. And I agree, you know, with having limitations for the overnight stuff. I don't know that Liza wants, and I don't want to speak for her, but I don't want 6 dogs in my house. That would probably be crazy. I know she's gonna have a kennel and whatever else, but that's probably a lot to, if we're limiting to one client. Where I come to it is, what would be the activity on the street? So if we're allowing a client to drop off a dog at 8 a.m. or 2 dogs to be groomed at 8 a.m. and they can be picked up at 7 p.m. The difference between an overnight stay and that grooming visit, we're talking about another 13 hours overnight where dogs are my dog sleeps 23 hours a day. So I don't know, again, I would like restrictions. I would not want this to be a dog hotel where there's just cars coming and going at all times of night, extra headlights, and a lot of foot traffic. But if we're talking about one client and we restrict number of dogs in an overnight stay, and we could even say 1 overnight per week, or one, we could do something like that. Like those kind of limitations I'm comfortable with, but just broadly speaking, the idea of allowing some amount of overnight visits, I'm in favor with restrictions.
Okay, this is John.
Yes.
I'm not sure what would happen as we've talked about this, but I think what we might want to do is simply put a 1-year stipulation that after 1 year, we revisit whether they can have dog sitting. And if indeed this does cause a problem, in a year from now, we're going to hear from a lot of people. If it doesn't cause a problem, in a year from now, it'll go very smoothly. This allows for a 1-year period for the business owner to do their dog sitting, and we'll see.
Thank you, John. All right, so go ahead.
Yeah, Patrick Carrier. So to Keith's point, so it just that, so let's say we allow 1 sitting per week or 1 sitting per month overnight, or whatever it is. Again, how is that policed at all? Like, how would that be handled is my question, I guess. I don't know how that would be.
Yeah.
So it'd be different. So from a staffing, so I can speak to that from staff. So the frequency obviously is going to be difficult for staff to monitor and enforce. At some point, then it becomes requesting the applicant to share the records so that we can see who actually has been coming and going. I mean, quite honestly, some of us have Amazon packages delivered more frequently than it sounds like some of the dogs and people are going to be coming and going from their home. So, it'll be difficult. Is it a dog coming and going, or is it an Amazon drop off or whatever drop off coming and going? So some of it will be difficult to police. But that said, if there's a general nuisance and repeated complaints really about the noise of this, then not only will staff be getting it, then we can also then enlist the help of animal control, and between us be by at different times of day on different days of the week, and either we're witnessing and hearing dogs barking on a regular basis or we're not as we're coming by. It does become somewhat subjective also with the video camera. Everybody has a camera, everybody has a video camera in their hands nowadays. So it'd be nothing for one of the neighboring property owners to at least video the sound. You'd hear with the fence, you wouldn't necessarily see, but you would hear the dogs barking repeatedly throughout the day. Could it be from other location? Again, it starts to become hearsay and policing, and but we get that with a lot of things with zoning. So at some point you've got to take a reasonable attempt at this. And I do think a 1-year look back is appropriate. If it's quiet this first year, that certainly is indicative that we're on I mean, quite honestly, within the first couple of months, we're going to know this is either going to be a problem or it's not. I think all of the conditions that were discussed for the pet grooming would be appropriate. In addition to the 1 year look back, I think the hours of pickup drop off for this should be limited to the same 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. So somebody, you know, if they've got a 6 a.m. flight or whatever, because they're heading out, then that dog needs to be dropped off the day before. If they're not getting home till 10 or 11 o'clock at night, because that's when the flight's coming in, then that dog isn't getting picked up to the next day, right? So that those pickup drop-offs are still within that 8 to 7 time frame. The waste pickup in the yard, which obviously could start to become a nuisance if obviously it's a nuisance for the homeowner, but it could be a nuisance particularly for the immediately adjacent neighbors. You know, waste pickup, I'm going to say 2 times a day. That you know, just the intent, obviously, that's a regular on a regular basis, that it doesn't go a week for the waste pickup. And then, yeah, we've got to quantify it. At some point, we've got to say, okay, it's 2 dogs per day for pet sitting maximum and 1 dog at a time overnight, or quantify it. And you got to pick a number. And it's whatever you folks think. I don't think there's a hard and fast appropriate, but pick something on the lower end and then it can be revisited. And it's to Ms. Panett, right? If we've done it for a year and we've put on some tight restrictions, but she followed them, a year from now, she can ask to, hey, it's gone well. Can I increase this slightly to X or Y because of this, but then it would still be in keeping with the neighborhood. But that would be, it allows for that conversation and it allows for TPZ to have some control.
And not to cut anyone off, I am not comfortable with the overnight, so I probably will vote against it. I think we heard from a number of neighbors, and I don't think it was just traffic. And you know, I know my dog, if she goes somewhere overnight, she doesn't know the people, she whines like crazy. So if you have multiple dogs, I don't know. So, you know, and if it isn't overnight, maybe it should be in a business.
And that's
fine. You
fine.
know, business setting in a separate building somewhere that's more appropriate, but
then it can be day only.
Yeah.
That's something for you folks to discuss. It absolutely can be day only and overnight.
So-
And again, something for revisiting in 1 year if it's gone well.
Yeah.
To be considered later then. So
we went through all these things so fast, and there you go.
I've got them marked down. So like I said, I would absolutely use all the conditions from grooming and then add to it.
Okay, so if I amend, I would amend the motion, correct? And to include the same conditions as, and this is not my motion, I'm asking the question here, to include the same conditions as dog grooming with the additional conditions.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yep, we got you.
And is the commit, so I myself am a little nervous about the overnight as well. I feel like you put that in and you come back in a year, and then limited to 1 dog. So when you're grooming, you have 2. What do you guys think about 1 dog at a time for the pet sitting operation, which would eliminate somebody dropping off 2 dogs? I mean, what are your thoughts?
I like that. I think it's Scott. I think earlier you might even said, Patrick, 1 per week or something. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I thought that's what you said earlier, but I do like limiting it to 1.
Yeah, this is Keith. I think I'm probably the most comfortable with this out of anybody, but as I said in the beginning, I think that's where the compromise comes in. There's going to be, you know, if it's 0 dog sitting or 1 dog per week or 1 dog per month, that's better than 0. So I think, you know, we've passed the grooming business. I think being more careful with the dog sitting, with the opportunity to add more next year, if everything's going great and the neighborhood's super comfortable, then I think that's a win for everybody in the end. So whatever limitations you guys are comfortable with, I would go along with.
Patrick,
Okay,
are you comfortable to make the motion or,
Patrick, you just said?
yeah,
Yes, yes, I am. I just have one more question for
Oh, sure.
Scott. What would
Sure.
you like to see that, limited to one pet sitting per month or per week? Do you want to say per week?
I'm okay with per week.
Okay, so I amend my previous motion to include all conditions from the pet grooming business and also to include that the conditions that waste be picked up minimum of 2 times a day, no overnight stays, limited to one dog at one time for a pet sitting occurrence, I guess, limited to one pet sitting per week. And then the applicant shall comply with, that's not the one I wanted. Hang on a second. So the applicant to reappear before the commission in 1 year from now to basically revisit this and go over it.
nice job, Patrick. How about a second?
I will second Keith Hibbert.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so unanimous.
Okay, thank you for muscling through that. Thank you everyone for calling in and offering your thoughts and comments.
And then you will be in touch with Eliza? or
Oh,
just-
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Eliza will be in touch. We'll get it all in writing and you'll have to file this on Sandy will work through, we got to do the meeting minutes first and then you'll receive a letter and the certificate of special permit needs to be filed on the land records prior to you being able to start business.
Okay,
Okay, so that should be like another week-ish and a half, week to 2 weeks by the time we finish the paperwork. Okay.
okay,
All right, so you'll be able to be in touch with our office and we can follow up.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and hopefully Paul is still here. We have one more public hearing. We have Paul Stepka, who has applied for a special permit to add to his home in excess of 30%. All right, is Paul on the line?
He was. He's still here, Paul?
Sort of. Football game's going decent.
All right, perfect. All right,
Hi, Paul.
so you are up to bat. I've got your full application is scanned in, so I've started with the aerial. This is your location at 23. And then
Pretty simple. Paul Stepka, 23 Moses Place. We're adding a first floor master on an existing foundation to the left side of our house.
So where's Moses in relation to this?
So yeah. So Moses is off of.
No, but to that
Off of Plainville Avenue.
So here's the house.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to rotate this 180 degrees in your
okay.
head.
Got it, yeah.
So the house is here in this deck, the expansion.
The addition
is
to the
basically
east side.
being
Okay.
done on over top of this. So this deck is being eliminated or mostly eliminated, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so we got Moses, we got Plainville, so it's on the east side. So when I scroll down, the drawing is 180 degrees rotated. So now this
Okay.
is Moses out here.
Got it.
This is the existing house, and then here's the expansion where the deck was located.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So then this is what it looks like. So this is the existing home from the street, and this is what it'll look like coming down. It looks like the grading pulls away from the house. Is that correct? And one.
Yeah, it's already like that.
Yep. No, just confirming.
Okay.
And then a walkout basement on the side elevation. Is that correct?
Correct.
So on the east side.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's a math. It's the expanded home.
Yep.
Provision. And I think if I looked at it, it wasn't over by, going back to the agenda review. That's the total area of 2,200 square feet. The existing is 2,774, and they're adding 680 is the addition. Is that correct?
Yeah, approximately, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so
What
the
happened was
maximum,
we had a permit for an addition more than 10 years ago. Poured the foundation and then turned it into a deck.
got it.
Then in that time, the zoning rules changed.
Got,
I
yeah.
waited, I was too slow.
So, yeah, you know, and so if by right, the applicant could do 30%, which would be 603 square feet, and the expansion is 680. So
Got it. A little
that's,
bit off. That's why we're here.
that's why we're here.
Okay.
And this way he gets what, you know, rather than trying to cut corners and, you know, take area out for the sake of the 70 square feet, 75 square feet. Okay.
Thank you. All right. So commissioners, questions, Patrick? Any questions?
No, not really at this point. I mean, that foundation's existing and you're basically building the same addition as you had approved previously. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually half the size. We were going to do a 2-story one before.
Okay, and that's a balcony off the top there, like a deck on the second level?
Yeah.
Okay, no, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Patrick. Scott?
No, I'm all set. No questions. Thanks.
John?
No questions?
All right, and Keith?
Nothing. Looks good to me.
Okay.
Hope it looks as good as the picture.
Thank you. I have no questions either, but this is a public hearing. Is there anyone on the line that wishes to ask a question, make a comment about this application? Going once?
Anyone called in to speak in favor and opposition of this application, please raise your hand using Zoom.
Okay, we're good.
Not seeing anything.
Commissioners, do you have any questions before I close it of the applicant? All right, we are good. So the public hearing portion is officially closed on this matter. And we need a motion and a second, please.
Patrick Carrier, I make the motion to approve the application by Paul Stepka for a special permit for an addition to home in excess of 30% located at 23 Moses Place in an R12 zone as presented.
Thank you. Second?
Keith Urban, second.
Thank you. All right. Any discussion before we vote on this? We're good. I think it's like it was already stated. It's pretty straightforward. But I think we're all set. Okay, good. So let's just do the vote and be done with it. So all in favor of this application?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so unanimous again. Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for your patience.
Thank you. What do I do? Go to the building department?
So your building permit will be, the zoning step will get signed off tomorrow when I get back in the office. And then it'll move on and finish its review. And you will also receive a letter from Sandy, and there'll be a certificate that needs to be filed in the land records. You can bring your sign back when you do that. So your building permit will probably process within the next, I'd say week to 10 days. Okay.
Paul, did you hear that?
I don't know, it looks like you got cut off all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think we're good. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All
Bye,
right.
all.
So have a good night. We're done with the public hearing portions.
Yes,
Wow. Planners report.
I do actually have something real quick for everybody, if you bear with me. So Unionville,
Yes.
19 Perry Street, next to Union School. We are starting to hear from a few more people regarding this off and on. Some of you may recall there was an application. It was approved back in 2015 for condo and apartment units here, roughly 250 in total. Total units, like I said, some condos, which are straight front, and then apartment units. And there's additional investigative work that needs to be done. So They will be over the next week or two, needing to do some survey of this is referred to as the powerhouse building. That's the only existing structure on the property. And they need to come in and clear about 10 to 20 feet around that building. So they're going to cut all the brush back so their survey crews can get in and actually do, this is more of a detailed and architectural survey and understanding doors, windows, where things are located, the spacing. So they really need to get up tight to the building. There will not be earth disturbance as part of this, but you will see a little bit of activity. They also will be looking at doing some borings on the property. So there'll be drill rigs. We have asked for the boring plan and soil management associated with that. Obviously, as we get that information, that'll also be shared with Board of Ed. It'll be shared with everybody here so that folks know. But since I was meeting with you this evening, and it likely some of this, though I don't expect the borings to start in the next 2 weeks, but the clearing around the powerhouse to start. I wanted to just let you folks know. We're expecting a little additional information, like a little sketch to show exactly where they're going to be working that we will share around. But again, since we were going to be meeting, I figured I'd just let you know while we were on the phone.
You ready for the phone calls?
Yeah, no, I know the phone's gonna be ringing, but that's one of the reasons I want to let you, so you're not, hey, did you know, or what's going on? Yes, they're just doing some, right now it's additional due diligence work. It seems promising that there's an interesting party that wants to come in and actually do the construction, but we've had a few of those over the last 6 years, so I'm cautiously optimistic with that. With respect to the extension of the approval, because this had been on the agenda at one point to have that approval extended, we did hear from Bob DiCrescenzo, confirmed that one of the executive orders told the time period for any permits that had been issued prior to COVID crisis coming into play. And the tolling of those permits is actually totals 440 days. The tolling went in to effect in May 2020 and was not released until July of 2021. So that 440 days gets tacked on to any permit that would have been approved or would have normally expired in that time frame. Or
So they're not
had
coming.
that,
They don't
so
need
it
to
got
come.
extended. This particular application gets the benefit of the full 440 days because it just kind of freezes, it froze all the permits, and then their clock started ticking again on July, whatever, 17th of 2021. So their full 440 days gets added to the November 15th, which puts us to January of 2023.
Okay.
So we've run through all the math on it. Bob DiCrescenzo checked it. Chris Oheb checked it. Everybody's good. So that's where we are with that. So
thank you for the heads up. And the Board of Ed, obviously with Union School right there. And so you're doing the right things too. Were you able to get, I may be cutting off, anything on the bridge? Am I totally misreading the bridge?
So yes, the bridge.
The
Yep,
Unionville,
yep.
the
No,
metal
I know.
bridge.
I'm trying to go back through because I've had a couple of conversations with Russ. So they were going to try and get it painted. The painting, I think, is going to have to halt for this season, and they're going to be looking at it in the spring. But they are trying to do some wing wall work. There's some work on the abutment that needs to be done on this, I'm going to say the southeast corner. And it has to do with work on the abutment, some erosion that's happening with just regular stormwater runoff on this corner, and a water line that's running on the girder beam fascia, and trying to get, if they extend the wing wall, then there's a conflict with the water line, but they need to extend the wing wall in order to not have the erosion taking place. So they're working through that. They're still hopeful that that solution will get implemented before we get snow, because they'd like to get that done and get the barriers out of there
Thank you. Yes.
prior to snowfall. So it's still, right now, the powers at DOT are still muscling through that. Russ continues to check in on them weekly, I think it had been every other week, and now it's weekly as we're getting, towards the end of October, but
Because that,
yes.
with snow, that's gonna.
Well, yep,
Mhm.
yep, we're all right there with you
All right.
on that. So right now the ball is in DOT's court, and they're trying to figure out an engineering solution to that. So they can fix like I said, fix that road and kind of create a barrier and support the structure, but still not have to impact the water line that's running. So they're muscling through that. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you one more thing. There's a sign near the high school that says there will be traffic delays for some work.
Yep,
But
so
don't
it's
they-
just on,
Right.
Route 4. So where the water line project was in
Yep.
the patching, they are going to have to come, so they did the regular patching just as they went when they had to do some of the
Yep.
services. Now they're gonna come back through and mill and overlay a more complete chunk to kind of encapsulate. So rather than having multiple small patches, which they did just to kind of okay, let's get this done and get things open, they're gonna come back and do a kind of a full mill and overlay, but not all the way from Walnut Street to whatever Highwood or
Highwood, yeah.
whatever. Yeah, it's a couple of sections
okay.
that are like 100 or 200 feet at a time, a couple of sections that have to be done that had multiple patches within it.
And
So
that will be like similar, like school buses will be able to get through kind of a thing, or no?
It says overnight,
It may say that, yeah.
but
It-
it doesn't say date time frame.
Okay,
it doesn't, right?
okay.
Yeah.
So more information coming, okay.
So that's, my guess is one night we're gonna come out and they'll be going,
Yeah.
probably not tonight because of the rain. So once we get, so this week, because of the rain off and on, probably not. They're probably gonna maybe see next week. They're gonna try and get a nice dry spell and probably hit it, because they can't do that work on a night like tonight.
Okay,
So,
thank you for the update.
yep. Anybody else have anything for me?
Yeah, I got a question. Have you heard anything about the Walgreens that's there, that's still vacant? And is there any word at all of what's going on there?
No, so they, interestingly, and this happens a lot of times with corporate leases, so Walgreens is still paying rent. They had a 20-year lease, so they still pay rent even on the vacant building. So Walgreens is actually looking to do a sublease, but they aren't interested in what we've heard. I believe I've got this correct. They aren't interested really in subdividing the space. So I want to say it's 15,000 square feet roughly. It could be 10, it could be 20, but it's call it 15,000 square feet. And they're not interested in looking at partitioning that. And some of the people that have been interested can't really use that full space. So it's trying to get somebody in there that'll take the full space, and that would then be a sublease to Walgreens in this particular case. But yeah, they're still paying rent. They've got a 20-year lease, and so the landowner also then has no incentive to jump in because their rent's still getting paid, so they don't care, which makes obviously we have some interesting conversations regarding some of the maintenance, the landscaping and the maintenance that are going on there. So we've tried to be cordial about it a couple of times, and I believe if we haven't done so already, we are going to be in the position here shortly where fines are going to start to be issued, because a number of people have complained about it.
Yeah, I've noticed definitely that there's a difference for sure. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, we're good. So the last piece is approval of minutes. May I have a motion and a second?
This one should be easy, right? No conditions, just the,
You got this one. You can do it in your
I
sleep.
got it. All right, Patrick Carrier, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 13th, 2021 Town Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Second.
This is John Vibbert. I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Can you believe it, Sandy?
Wow.
Nice job. So I think we're all set. Unless anyone has any questions, the meeting is adjourned. We're
I'm all
good?
set.
Okay,
Good night.
9:15.
Good night,
All right,
everybody.
November. We'll see you in November.
We'll see you in November. One meeting in November, everybody.
Yep. Thank you.
right.
Good night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
good night.
Good night.